In the traditional world, you're thinking in terms of 1 year, 2 year recruitment cycles, and you're shooting for one big enrollment period in August. And it's a much different sell because you have the students, the parents, you have to worry about the physical infrastructure, the dorms, the food service, and all that. But in the online world, it's fast. I mean, you're talking most schools are enrolling every 8 weeks. In many cases, the adult student will inquire and be ready to start school within a matter of days. So there's definitely a big difference between those two programs. But in the online world, you have to move fast or you're just not going to get the students.
Welcome back to the Magellan Podcast, Navigating Education in the 21st Century. This is where Magellan Learning Solutions partners Wayne Patton, Aaron Traphagen, Emily Hetty, and Jimmy Queen explore the most pressing issues and innovative solutions in higher education. In today's episode, we're joined by Dr. Lee Beaumont, Vice President of Enrollment and Marketing, to introduce a powerful new service within our lead optimization portfolio, Magellan's Lead Lifeline. Lead Lifeline is designed to help institutions rescue lost leads, re-engage student inquiries, and move them back on course toward enrollment through timely follow-up and personalized outreach. Let's dive in.
Hey, just want to welcome everybody to today's edition of the Magellan Podcast. I'm Aaron Traphagen. I'm joined as usual by my partner, co-founder of Magellan Learning Solutions, Dr. Wayne Patton. Welcome, Wayne.
Thank you, Aaron. It's wonderful to be here.
Is it wonderful to be here?
It is.
Even with me?
Even with you, Aaron.
Excellent. Well, today I know we've got an important topic to talk about, lead optimization services here at Magellan, or what we're calling Magellan's Lead Lifeline. If you want to give us a little intro to that topic and maybe introduce our guests.
Sure. I think one thing Magellan's been good at is adapting to the needs of our clients out there. We perform a lot of different services in the higher education space, and over the years, an opportunity starts to emerge. We see it and we respond. And part of that was in the marketing and enrollment niche. We did a recent podcast over our merger with Sway Communications, where we, have a full service contact center that will help students and clients from inquiry all the way through application. And so, this is a conversation about even go a little more nuanced there into a very particular part of the student funnel. And we believe there's definitely a need in our client base for getting a little more nuance there in the area of working leads that they've already purchased and that are maybe sitting there dormant, not responded to, et cetera. So we're going to kind of unpackage that area of service today, what we are calling Magellan's Lead Lifeline. And with us is Jimmy Queen, partner at Magellan Learning Solutions, and a new add to the team, Dr. Lee Beaumont. Lee, tell us a little bit about that very fancy work history of yours in this space, because all joking aside, I do think Lee has as much expertise and experience in this lane than a lot of people.
Welcome, Lee.
All right, well, thank you. Thanks for that, Aaron. Well, I have been working for over 30 years with extensive experience in both marketing and admissions within the higher education sector. I have cultivated a deep understanding of how the marketing strategies can drive student enrollment and institutional success. I hold 2 master's degrees, a doctorate, and a certification from the American Marketing Association as a professional certified marketer. I've developed and implemented comprehensive marketing and enrollment programs spanning from the traditional on-campus program to innovative online curricula, and at every academic level, going from certificate programs all the way up to doctoral degrees. My experience spans both strategic and tactical planning, and that allows me to create a robust marketing framework and be able to execute that on a day-to-day basis. I also specialize in lead generation and optimization, overall yield strategies, multi-channel communication plans, and employing techniques such as market segmentation, SEO, SEM, and essentially just targeted advertising to maximize the reach and the impact within each step of the recruitment funnel.
Well, welcome, Lee. It's good to have you here and talk about this. And I guess as we jump in, let's just start with what is the issue? What are schools struggling with in this area?
Schools tend to spend a lot of money on generating leads, and many cases, they are not adequately following up with those. And so their conversion rates suffer as a result of that. And they're leaving a lot of money on the table by not doing adequate follow-up. Because, lead optimization is bridging that gap between the marketing side and the actual enrollment side.
Right. And so today we want to, as Wayne said, we want to kind of bring that broader conversation and narrow it a bit. And what we want to talk about today is lead optimization is really that initial contact. When that lead comes in or we're given a lead from a school, that follow up, we typically reach out to that prospective lead within 2 to 5 minutes. And once we have that person on the phone, that prospective student, the goal is to walk that student through the application. So we're not just following up on a lead, we're delivering a completed application to that institution by re-engaging those leads via phone call, text, and email to get the completed application. That's what Lead Lifeline is all about. Lee, you want to talk a little bit about what that application looks like? Because there's a bit of work we have to do with the schools to kind of get that lead to a point where we, in fact, can walk that student through while we're talking to them.
Yeah, obviously, what happens is you got to get the student on the phone first.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to reach out to them very quickly because many competitors are going to be doing that. And students expect rapid response whenever they put in an inquiry because they see that academic program is meeting some need that they have. So they want to be contacted immediately. And it's not just through phone, it's through text messaging and emailing as well. But the idea is that you get that person on the phone very quickly. You determine what it is they're trying to accomplish. Does the school have the program of study that meets their need? And then you look at it and you have a short form application. You don't want to ask for things that are not relevant in the admissions process. You want to walk that student through the process, get that application in the system so it triggers a whole nother set of automatic communications. And you can do all this in a matter of minutes. So you can have a student sitting in their home, putting a lead in, and you can have a valid app within 10 minutes. And one reason why many of these schools don't do this is because they don't have the personnel, they don't have the systems, and they don't have the expertise to do all this.
So what you're telling me is you've got schools going out there, they're getting into large contracts with lead vendors bringing, who are promising just these huge baskets and buckets of leads to bring them to their school. And then they're understaffed and underskilled to be able to process those leads. I mean, what are some examples we've seen there? I mean, where have we seen this in play?
I had a school, we had about 110,000 leads that we purchased through various vendors. And we didn't call them. We weren't able to text them. We were able to email them, but we had a very inadequate, conversion plan at that point, and they were not getting rapid response. And when you consider the amount of money I spent to acquire all those leads just to have them sit dormant, it really pained me because I didn't have the systems in place to do it.
What's that figure there's two different ways we've looked at this figure. It seems like there's a 80% figure out there of leads that are never taken to completion, I guess is one way to put it. They never culminate in an app. And then there was a recent article where it was somewhere between 30 and 40% of student inquiries are never responded to. It's not only that they don't get to an app, they never got to another single human being that responded back to them.
What does that look like when that happens? I mean,
well, you have a very poor funnel. Your conversion rates are not very good. You have an inadequate applicant pool, which then, of course, just filters all the way down through the enrollment process to where you don't have enough students to work to meet your enrollment goals. And, in the ideal world, you want your funnel as narrow as possible because it costs a lot of money to acquire all these leads. And if you have a rapid response team, you can narrow that funnel, get greater yields, which means you have to, go out and buy fewer leads because leads are expensive. And the optimization of the entire process is key to making sure your cost of recruitment is not too much. So that's something to be very, cognizant of. And it all starts right here within a contact within 2 minutes and reaching out to that student. That makes a huge difference.
So it really is it's what we call a centralized model, and that can mean different things to different people. On the academic or curriculum side, centralized model will often mean, consistency and uniformity in content, consistency and uniformity in how faculty interact with students, all very important. Here, what we have is the optimization comes through a very, let's call it tight student funnel through a centralized approach to it all, right? That way, not as much slips through the student funnel. Aaron and I kind of drew a funny thing up on the whiteboard a couple of months ago that was a stickman figure of what a student funnel looks like when it's not operating well, when it's not centralized. And you're losing students from literally from hello to at what point they fall out of the funnel, which we'll just call that goodbye. They never make it to an enrollment. And that it's such a complex number of touches there from trained personnel that go from hello, I'm interested to yes, I'm enrolled. And it's a tough journey for students. Think about what all they've been through by the time they hit hopefully a well-designed online course with a trained faculty member that can help them be a successful student. Students have been through so much, before that even happens, especially if they get into a system that's not centralized and uniformed. And I think, we just talked to a university leader who, a member of their family was talking to a regional school, a regional online program that did not have a centralized, well-oiled, optimized machine, right? They never heard back from that school. And I believe this was a doctorate program. They called one of the national players that had the very system and process that we help schools design. They heard back, to Lee's point, I think within 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. That's what we're talking about. That's the difference between online success on the student funnel side and not getting that student, right?
Right. And again, that 2 minutes comes in when that initial lead is submitted. But if we don't get in contact with that student, we have a campaign of outreach to, like Lee said earlier, it's email, it's phone calls, it's text messages. We're going to chase that lead and execute on our campaign. And we work with each school to develop a campaign, that kind of works within their systems, their parameters. But again, the key is speed. I think there was Harvard Business School published some research that said that if you follow up with a lead, the chances of a positive response are tenfold. So if you wait more than 5 minutes to follow up on a lead, it's just like you're falling off of a cliff with the responses.
Right. If you're waiting days, this person's likely already deep in the application process with some other school.
For sure.
Touching base with them.
No, you can be assured of that in the online space. Absolutely. Because somebody else is.
Yeah. So maybe this regional school that I was just talking about that had already been beaten to the enrollment chase by the big online player, by the time they did reach back out, it's over.
Well, and a lot of schools as well are, again, to the point that's being made here about the student already being well into the application at a competitor. A lot of lead vendors are reselling leads. So, that lead may come into school A, but it's also being sold to school B, C, and D as well. Right. And another good reason why that speed that we're talking about is so critical.
At Magellan Learning Solutions, our mission is to help our clients' educational missions with tailored curricular and operational solutions to help them thrive. To meet the accompanying challenges, the experts at Magellan Learning Solutions offer a full spectrum of services in the areas of curriculum development, operational administration, training and professional development, enrollment and marketing, or custom solutions to niche projects. Whether managing turnkey projects, consulting, or acting as a force multiplier, our experience and relational approach will help your team attain its goals. For all your educational needs, think Magellan. Visit us at thinkmagellan.com today and set up an introductory meeting.
So speed, we've talked about speed. You mentioned kind of the personalized nature of it, being able to hit them a bunch of different ways with the school's message. But I think that comment about, lead vendors selling those leads to a ton of other schools, it leads to another concern folks have. You bring in some outside entity. What about all of our student information? What does that look like? Are folks operating in some outside system? Can you integrate into what the schools have going on?
Oh, that's a great question. So we always work inside of the school CRM. We don't have a CRM here. We don't store any student data. We're always working inside of that CRM. So a school can see exactly what's going on in real time, anytime.
And then their data remains their data and information.
And any improvements we make, we also automate a number of processes inside their CRM, which helps with this lead optimization. And obviously they get to keep that. We'll write email communications, customize. Segmenting the market is really important here. You want to talk to an undergrad psych student a little differently than a PhD, theology student. So you customize the communications in all those ways, as well as content, like video content. And of course, the school keeps all that, and their systems are going to be set up to run automatically.
Well, so not only are we coming in and just helping them out, but we're kind of building and adding to the systems and processes they have in place. What about scalability? I mean, so is this one of those situations, hey, let's get in there and we kind of hang on forever, and now we're kind of this
is built for scalability and cost efficiency. We can get as big as anybody wants to get. The call center runs 24/7. Holidays, weekends. A lot of people think that you don't generate a lot of leads and apps on holidays and weekends, but that is a fallacy.
No, I mean, so that's a good point. I mean, really, I guess as they buy more leads, the service starts to become effective. We can scale as their needs are there.
Absolutely.
I mean, we don't have limitations on that.
We do not. And we have a very robust training program. That's one of the things that I really love about the contact center side of Magellan is, it really is a full service contact center. It's been in business for over 30 years. And we have a team of experts that are really great at developing training programs and so forth. So that's one of our keys to scalability, is being able to kind of see where things are going, kind of looking at the volume and the capacity at the same time, and training our team to scale as we go. So that's not a problem at all.
No, and also if you look at cost efficiency from a standpoint of the data analytics and the tracking, we go back to the source. I mean, we track enrollments by the original marketing source through various like UTMs and other tracking measures, so we can continue to optimize the whole funnel and tell the school, market here, don't market here. This is not a good source. This is a good source. And what it does is it continues to lower your cost of acquisition, increase your yields, which of course increases the school's ROI on the whole effort.
So we're just building a highly efficient system to come in and help augment the school's workforce, help bring from kind of that marketing lead generation area into the enrollment funnel, help them bridge that gap, make sure they're not losing money, make sure they're not losing students, maximizing kind of the dollars they're spending out there. That all sounds great. What are some examples? Have we done this, with schools? What are some of the success stories?
Well, we're doing it right now. I have one school we're pushing quite a few students through the funnel right now, much faster than they've ever done before. A lot of systems have been automated. We're still automating even more, but we're getting great lead numbers. We're getting great applicant numbers, and it's very exciting.
Yeah, I think we've had a few clients where we've talked about the larger marketing and enrollment picture where we would work the entire funnel, and then this opportunity presented itself. Well, what if we just took those leads you already have and worked those in the way that we've described so far in this podcast, and they went from really not interested to picking up those services because it was something financially they were able to do. To everyone's point here, they'd already bought the leads. They're just sitting there, in so many words, rotting on the vine, right? Mm-hmm. Because they weren't being touched. So I think it's a nice put-in point for a lot of schools. And so far, with one school recently, we're literally just brought up that we're doing this piece, and they went from, again, not interested to, well, let's have a conversation, because it's a no-brainer to, again, beat the word to death, optimize that lead that's already been paid for.
Well, Wayne, you bring up a great point. When I was at another school, we had a contact center, and we gave them all of our old leads to see how they could do, to kind of, dip our toes in the water, so to speak. And research has shown that you can go 18, 24 months out on leads and still convert maybe, 0.05%. maybe even up to a percentage. So, if the school's already paid for them, why not go out there and try to reactivate them? Lead reactivation campaigns are very effective.
And
We're not talking small amounts of dollars either. This is not like $5,000, $10,000. We're talking sometimes hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars spent generating these leads, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on how many you have.
And so I think one of the great things about the service we're talking about is it's a low cost, low risk approach. As a matter of fact, it pays for itself. That's the beauty of it. The school Lee mentioned about calling Neo leads, we were so successful there that ultimately we were chasing 100% of their leads, their live leads, and we developed a program where every so many months we would go back and hit the kind of the aging leads, if you will. And, that story just kind of keeps playing itself out over and over again because it's just a very effective service. And again, most schools don't have the manpower or the infrastructure, or just simply don't even understand the urgency, the competitive market out there to a point where minutes matter. And, we get that here, I think more than ever with Lee on board. He's always preaching speed wins and, doing things the right way and automating everything you can and just developing effective campaigns. And that's what we do here.
Lee, talk about that for a minute, because we were briefly going through the difference between a trad enrollment cycle and the lightning speed of an online enrollment cycle.
Yeah, they're two different animals. And in the case of the school Jimmy was referring to, we actually had the contact center working the traditional leads as well as the online leads, but they were two different campaigns. In the traditional world, you're thinking in terms of 1 year, 2 year recruitment cycles, and you're shooting for one big enrollment period in August. And it's a much different sell because you have the students, the parents, you have to worry about the physical infrastructure, the dorms, the food service, and all that. But in the online world, it's fast. I mean, you're talking most schools are enrolling every 8 weeks. In many cases, the adult student will inquire and be ready to start school within a matter of days. So there's definitely a big difference between those two programs. But in the online world, you have to move fast, or you're just not going to get the students.
And we dug into a lot in a pretty short amount of time, but let's really try to drive it home. So basically, if I'm a college administrator, I'm listening to us talk right now, what are the key takeaways for me?
I think one of them is obviously speed wins. We just said that, right? Speed wins. You have to get to that lead as fast as possible. And that personalized outreach is what an adult learner, if we're talking about online here for a moment, that's what they're looking for. I saw a stat the other day that said 81% of prospective students expect personalized outreach, when they're inquiring.
Yeah, colleges are leaving money on the table. There's absolutely no doubt about it. They should, look at their enrollment funnel right now and their contact plan and take a look at how many leads are sitting in their current system and when was the last time they were reached out to. I mean, that's going to tell you everything you need to know right there.
And I think too, when you start looking at what we offer here at Magellan, to kind of back up what we're talking about here on the speed front, we have a full service contact center. Like Lee said, it's open 24/7, 365. It never closes. So when that lead comes in, we're on it in 2 minutes. We will develop a multifaceted campaign with email, text, and calls. But that doesn't just stop in day 1 or day 2. We have a full campaign where we will go after those leads for a certain period of time. And then we have a follow-up campaign that later will come back and go attempt to get in touch with those leads again. And the goal here is not just to have a conversation with a prospective student. The goal here is to deliver an application to the institution.
And we present as that institution, like we build content out for schools. It is branded. It captures any flavor they want of the institution, and any trainings we do with and any academic operational services, we kind of do a deep embed. We make sure we understand that school's culture, who they are, who they want to be. And it's the same thing on this funnel side. We deep embed. What do we call it? We are one. We become each other. Where we've had clients in the past that have said, "Oh yeah, we forgot that you weren't us." That's our goal with this, is that students are at that point in the ecosystem of the institution.
For sure, all the way down to when that phone of a prospective student rings, the number on there is that institution.
That's right.
So it doesn't look like, a spam call. It's that institution actually making the call.
So this sounds great, really. I'm a school. I've got a bunch of leads I've paid a ton of money for. I don't have the resources, the time, or the expertise to adequately follow up on those efficiently. And I'm interested in these services. I mean, what do I need to do?
Let's talk, right? Let's set up a meeting and explore your needs and again, do something tailored that fits you, your school, your culture, and your goals. Because it's really about, saving every single lead and inquiry that we can for our clients. We drew a picture a while back. Aaron and I drew out the kind of a mock-up student funnel and all the things that can go wrong for a student as they try and fulfill their, academic dreams. And in that funnel, students were falling out of it here and there and into a vast pool. And in that pool, they drowned, right? They never matriculated through to graduation. They never got to their first enrollment even. And so we see Magellan's Lead Lifeline as a way to kind of harness those students, getting them back into the school's ecosystem to get them enrolled and to help them meet their academic goals, which will also help these institutions thrive.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. I think that sums things up well. At the end of the day, colleges are working hard to attract students. Without the right follow-up, so many potential enrollments are just slipping through the cracks. We're wasting money, time, and efficiency. And if you're interested in working with Magellan Learning Solutions, check out our website at thinkmagellan.com or reach out info@thinkmagellan.com.
And we'll put a link in the podcast notes for this that will take you right to one of us that can set up that meeting and an introduction, and we'll go from there.
That's right. Lee never sleeps.
If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more of our conversations, please subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts. If you or your school is looking for help with enrollment and marketing, curriculum services, academic operations services, training and professional development, or you just need help with a custom solution, Think Magellan. Our team would love to help. Find us at thinkmagellan.com and contact us to set up an introductory meeting. Thank you for joining us on the Magellan Podcast, Navigating Education in the 21st Century.